Welcome to the third Amazing Race Canada recap episode of the Your Team Number podcast. My name is Michael Harmstone, and joining me, as always, is our birthday boy, the Canadian who, it's fair to say, I've spoken to several times, Logan Saunders.
Evening.
You can tweet us, as always, using the
Ahem.
Who is that?
Why, it is the other Australian who is a member of this podcast.
Our second favourite Australian?
Yes, that one.
It's our Australian intern, Ben Powell.
Howdy.
Ben has decided to join us this week. Yay!
Woo.
It was, until about 20 minutes ago, a surprise appearance for us as well.
He stole my thunder. Today was my day, and then he just comes in here, and he ruins everything.
Oh, those bloody Australians.
Okay, it was your birthday. You know what I had to do? I just showed up.
He brought Alan Woo's cake for you, despite the fact Woo might have dropped it.
Oh, 16 canned woos?
Yes! 16 canned woos. As always, you can tweet us using the hashtag YATNcast or email us at yatncast@gmail.com. So, previously 11 teams flew to Santiago in Chile. At the roadblock, one team member soared while the Detour saw teams bear it all to continue, which was too much for Hamilton and Michaela, and they used their newly acquired express pass to secure the leg win. Dana and Amanda climbed down 3 places after they climbed up to the pit stop, and Gino and Jesse were the worst, and still are the worst, only to be saved by Susan and Shanji's immense kindness to keep them in the race, which did eliminate the correctional officers.
They had to throw in a Canadian music reference into that previously on segment to say that teams decided to fly like a bird was an intentional reference to Nelly Furtado. Like, that was
Canadian.
deliberate. She is Canadian. She's from Vancouver. She's a Portuguese descent, but yes, she was pretty much born and raised here in Vancouver. She, cleaned up at the Juno Awards with Fly Like a Bird. Feel free to Wikipedia that and verify it.
The Juno Awards, where the top prize is the Honest to Blog Award.
The top prize is 1 month's free Tim Hortons. That's how Canada works.
Yeah, they just get gift cards on stage instead of any sort of Oscar or Grammy.
Congratulations on your reward. Here's a $50 Tim Hortons card. I just thought they were sort of being slightly offensive about the native dress that they had to wear for the dance. That's why I completely ignored it in my recap. And teams must now fly to Buenos Aires in Argentina and find the Plaza Canada to find their next clue. Once they learn the story of the totem that resides there, they have $250 American for this leg of the race.
That BMO cash card must be the longest name for a cash card or any promotional thing I've seen on The Amazing Race. What do they call it? The BMO Cashback World Elite MasterCard. That just rolls off your tongue.
And my favourite thing is that Dana and Cynthia are insistent upon mentioning it every time. Maybe it's to force them getting airtime.
I'm sure that's completely intentional on their part, that they wanted to name the card in which they're using.
It's the only way that the police make revenue, I guess.
What's it called again? What's the full name for it?
BMO Cashback World Elite MasterCard.
Ding! Alright.
Please sponsor us, Bebo, please. We've even spent money on the podcast now.
Yeah, don't be like those jackasses at Scotiabank who ignored us all last season.
Despite the fact that when we were in Vancouver and I walked past a Scotiabank with a massive Amazing Race advert, I was like, Logan, look, it's Scotiabank. So Hamilton and Michaela were first to depart at 3:46 a.m. It's Brian and Cynthia at 4:37, Nick and Matt at 4:38, Nick and Sabrina at 5:06, or Nick and Matt according to the graphics when they got their pit stop clue today.
So it wasn't even a contest between Hamilton, Michaela, and Brian and Cynthia.
Oh no, there was nearly an hour between them. Just like I'm waiting for the start times next week to prove that Nick and Sabrina were more than half an hour ahead of Brian and Cynthia, because that will have happened. Tijan and Leilani at 5:13, Neil and Kristen at 5:33, Dana and Amanda 5:34, Brent and Sean 5:37, Simeon Opie at 5:57, and the worst departing in last, yay, at 6:07.
So Gino and Jesse, despite the edit that was suggested at the end of last week, were really pretty close behind the other teams despite their mistake.
Oh yeah.
So and also understand that now that I'm here, you now have opposition to your Gino and Jesse are the worst state of mind, don't you?
I do, and that's why you're our intern, and we can have our Malaysian intern back next week.
Sorry, who hosted an entire season of this podcast and an interview?
Who's the only person other than me to host an entire season? Who did the Cat and Jesse interview that is now available on our iTunes feed?
That's right.
Who rigs every Oscar night?
We do.
I was waiting for a Simpsons reference there. Oh, it's years since I've seen that. I can't even remember it anymore. And, of course, hometown advantage. Sabrina's family live in Buenos Aires.
A hometown advantage in a foreign country? I was not expecting that on The Amazing Race Canada.
I know.
It was very Tammy Victor-like of Sabrina to bring this up.
Yeah, but it didn't really help.
Yeah, like it didn't help Laura and Jackie last season.
Who?
The people's favourite team. The one that got number 1 in Ben's poll. Didn't you know that?
And James Duthie's favourites, if I'm not mistaken.
We don't mention him. Not after your spat with him, Logan. So, we get all the departure times again. Yay, thank you to CTV. That is one thing that I love about this season already. We've had 2 weeks and 2 sets of departure times. Everyone knows it winds me up.
And you know what else we love is endless talk about the Express Pass to start up the episode.
But at least we get a Dave O'Leary reference.
Yes, give it to the older guy. The older guy
Who?
deserves the Express Pass.
Neil and Kristen want the Express Pass because Neil is old and can't run as fast. If Hamilton and Michaela don't give it to them, then that is rude and inappropriate. So Gino and Jesse and Simi and Opie are both taken to the Canadian Embassy.
When in doubt, be taken to the embassy.
When in doubt, Plaza do Canada.
Yeah, were they just trying to reference the Plaza du Canada from last season?
Yeah, that was pretty blatant. It was pretty much the exact same name. Just, you just switch out French for Spanish, and boom, you got a Canadian connection, because we still have so many viewers that want to see the direct Canadian connection between other countries around the world.
We have a connection.
A connection, yes. Points,
Sounds like
Michael.
that sounds like a heart problem or something.
I've got a terrible case of the connections. It's making me walk funny. So once teams find the totem at Plaza Canada, they must head to Barrio La Boca to find the next clue, which is a roadblock. And in this roadblock, one team member must search for 3 kiosks, pick up marked packs of Mentos gum and candy, and use the letter stamps on them to spell out the names of 4 famous Argentinians from the clues provided. Eva Perón, Pope Francis, Diego Maradona, and Carlos Gardel to receive their next clue.
Purse not included.
And another French reference, because the Mentos task was in one of the French legs last year, and here we are, we're getting it here in Argentina.
This Mentos task was a lot less difficult, though.
Yes.
Unless you confuse your P's and your D's.
And roll on the dick jokes.
Oh my god, you guys are inappropriate. This is why I don't hang out with you anymore. This is why I spend all my time with the wrong. Well,
Do you not remember the Rivada task from Big Brother Canada? When we just spent half an hour making D jokes. It's back! Especially when they caption Sabrina saying, "Oh my god, is that a D?" And when she says she can't find any Ds, and she's looking for 3 Ds, and when Simi says similar sort of things as well.
Maybe Sabrina was looking for a 3DS. Maybe Sabrina was just looking for a 3DS and she couldn't get it.
Yes, but Sabrina is older than 617.
Maybe Sabrina can become the second racer who will add us on Nintendo Network after our success with Mikey Zero.
Possibly.
So Sabrina, Neil, Cynthia, Nick, Dana, Dijon, Brent, Hamilton, Gino, and Simi did this roadblock.
English.
No Argentinian Spanish for Sabrina.
Oh man, I can't believe Dana just screamed English in the street. It was such a good throwback to last season with Amazing Race 26, with Matt going through Thailand screaming Metal Castle, Jackal.
And also the Dana Amanda's successful interrogation of the Perth shop owner.
As Ben said, Dana and Nick decide to search the ladies' purses for their Mentos, despite the fact they would be marked very obviously. It's not a treasure hunt.
Was it marked very obviously?
Well, they were on tables, at least. They might have been at the back of the store, but they were at least on, red and yellow tables. Or tables with red and yellow markers.
They weren't in purses.
No, they weren't, 1 pack inside each purse and you got to find 5 packs.
Yeah, who wants a Mentos out of the bottom of a purse anyway? It's gonna be I don't
An
know. There's gonna be smudges of lipstick on there. There's gonna be lots of dust.
Maybe next year they'll have to search for Mentos at the back of a sofa or something.
And you accidentally bite into a nickel or whatever wacky currency they have in Canada. What, rupees or something?
Yeah, we're still in the rupee system, especially because we're in the process of switching over to the rupee, because right now the Canadian dollar is 77 cents compared to the American dollar, so our currency is pretty much worthless. So we hit up our connections in India, and we are switching over to the rupee. The Hyrulean currency is just, it's really strong right now, so we're just, it's going to be a tough transition, but we're going to make it.
At least to be set whenever the, when India and Canada merge into one country.
Indiana?
That's a state.
I thought you were going to say when Canada and Hyrule merged.
Once again, Michael, I am above 17 years of age.
So Brian and Cynthia lose their chance to get the second express pass by shooting down Hamilton's request for help.
That was the best part, probably, of the episode, is that Hamilton Michaela's whole strategy is to try and make teams suck up to them, and they're about to give the express pass to Brian and Cynthia, and Cynthia essentially just screams F you to them and doesn't care about their express pass.
Isn't that like the universal double express pass strategy? Unless you're like Emily and Jono.
And Dana knew it was Pope, at least. She could guess the 4-letter word, not the 7-letter one.
Did you guys actually know the answers to any of the questions?
I knew 3.
I knew Ava Perón and Pope Francis, that's all.
Yeah, those were the 2 I knew as well.
I knew Maradona because, English football history. Maradona's Hand of God, cheating, 1986, I think. No idea who Carlos Gardel was.
I think you just said a bunch of gibberish. I think that was a bunch of gibberish, Michael.
In Australia versus New Zealand's visit to Buenos Aires, they did have a reference to Maradona as well.
Oh, yeah.
If you remember.
Oh, yeah, they, one where they had to, I don't even remember it, sorry.
They had to search through his biography, I think it was, and tell a Maradona impersonator a fact about him. And to quote Simi, "Where's my D? Come on."
Yes.
Did anyone notice what Hamilton's nickname was?
Nope.
No.
At one point during the roadblock, Michaela called him Hamster.
Aww.
What would Michaela's nickname be?
Hey, Mickey, you're so fine?
I was thinking that as well. Yeah, probably Mickey. And once teams complete the roadblock, they must make their way to Football Madeira to find the next clue, which is an active route info that honestly had a lot of potential and kind of didn't work that well.
It worked pretty well. We got to see several 20th attempts.
Yeah, weren't Brent and Sean up to 27 by the time they scored? It was something ridiculous.
Yeah, so it was very sucky on all their behalves.
Yeah, so the active route info was blind football. Teams have 1 minute to work together with one of them acting as a coach and one acting as a player to dribble the ball between a set of cones and score on goal whilst the player is blindfolded. Once they've scored in less than a minute, they receive their next clue. Or in the case of one team, just, quit.
I thought that Nick and Sabrina, they just get blindfold each other on a soccer pitch just for fun in their personal lives.
Oh, those wacky Italians.
Yeah, isn't that pretty much like foreplay to them or something?
No, the wacky Italian's the one we're talking to at the moment, Ben.
I don't get it.
Logan is Italian-Canadian. Part of his nickname is Wacky.
I didn't know Saunders was Italian.
Yeah, it's my father's father who he contaminated the bloodline.
His family ran from the mafia. It's like my favourite story about his family.
Well, that part's exaggerated, but...
The confessionals were completely unsubtle with regards to Nick five-holing as well. It was so unbelievably obvious that it was going to happen. Oh, it's a football challenge. This is what I've been waiting for.
To be fair, it's kind of hard to play soccer without your eyes.
Yeah.
I made this comparison. I'm actually rewatching the second season right now, and I made this comparison when you're a professional player of a sport, or when you're a professional player of sport or hockey, whatever the sport is, when you're trying to do something in a certain way, it gets very hard to deviate from that. Like how Natalie and Megan last season, they obviously I'm not sure about hockey. I don't play hockey obviously because it's Australia. I'm pretty sure they're not trained to aim for that certain spot in the they're not trained to aim for the 5-hole, I don't think, or at least not a cardboard cut of a 5-hole. But so they have a certain training thing they do, and so that's why it took them 50 tries to do it. Whereas compared to the teams like Suki and Jinder, who have never ever played hockey in their life and don't know if they're left or right-handed or not, they pick it up alongside the normal stuff, so they get it quicker. Whereas Nick being a professional player, he has trained to play a certain way, which is not blindfolded. Not blindfolded slaloming, at least. Yeah,
you would think that with Natalie and Megan, they wouldn't have been taught to try and get it between the goalie's legs, because that would be, a stupid tactic. Very unlikely to work.
Also very likely to hurt them in a place you won't get hurt.
And also, I was under the impression that blind football, they use a football that has a bell in it so you can hear it.
Yeah, but that's not much fun, is it?
True, but, that's kind of added difficulty if they make them use a normal football for it.
Exactly.
And for the first time all season, Neil and Kristen actually complete a task first.
Yeah,
2, 3, 2.
Bingo!
You sunk my battleship.
You sunk my Scrabble ship.
Yeah, we all guessed that they were going to finish first in this leg this week, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Mark Carroll's already mocked me for our predictions, and I was like, listen, I got 7 points this week, I'm very proud.
But who's winning? Are either of you two winning?
Michelle is now winning.
Of course she is.
And for the second week on the trot, Logan and I are both in 3rd place, because we both scored 7 points this week.
I'll be sure to hit you up for your future predictions once Max and Alliance win the season.
Oh, shut up.
Hey, I haven't had the chance to mock you about that yet.
I was led astray by a Mr. Saunders. They would not have been my win prediction had Logan not been so high on them, probably.
They would have been the best characters ever, but stupid James Duffy made a guy with dyslexia do a reading task. Ridiculous.
You know what they say about assuming.
We can just blame James Duthie.
No, that's not what they say about assuming at all. Where did you get that, Michael? What kind of sick country do you come from where that's the answer to your things? God.
Yeah, there's just a picture of James Duthie with a red circle on his face with a line through it. The roadblock symbol.
I believe the roadblock hint for leg 1 was who wants to actually meet James Duthie.
That's why they had to change it to who's feeling sporty.
They had to change it post-production when there had to be a huge fights over who wanted to meet James Duthie, because neither of them did. So I have no idea who James Duthie is, by the way. So
Nick and Matt did rock, paper, scissors for who wouldn't have to do a roadblock involving James Duthie. It's Logan's birthday podcast. We've got to join in his mocking of James Duthie.
Yeah, Nick definitely lost that rock, paper, scissors battle, by the way. That's why they didn't even do rock, paper, scissors this week, just so Nick had a fair shot to do a task for once.
yeah, I have an entire list of James Duthie jokes here. Ha 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 ha! Isn't that James Duthie is so fat? He has his own postcode. Ha 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 ha!
Yo, Duthie's so fat. So Neil and Kristen are the first to leave the roadblock, and Nick and Sabrina leaving second.
3, 10.
With a 2-hour penalty.
10.
What? The 2-hour penalty they took? Why would they do that?
Do you agree with their penalty taking, or would you have stuck it out?
I don't think that the penalty should be that long. I think it should be longer. Like it's a part of the race that everyone needs to do. Like every racer needs to participate in. It should be a longer penalty.
Yeah.
I'm thinking like at least 8 hours. I mean, logistically, that's basically the first detour skipping of 24 hours. But still provide an actual penalty for skipping tasks.
Yeah, the only penalty the only 24-hour penalty given out recently was the one in Amazing Race Philippines that I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, with Anton and Armand getting a 24-hour penalty for ringing home, contacting their mother on the race. But Rex and Bob got the 2-hour penalty for quitting the surfing task last season.
They should have just kept on going until they disclared their elbow or shoulder, whatever.
Well, yeah, 2 hours seems really short for a penalty on the Amazing Race. I mean, that's a 22-hour change from what we saw in season 1 with Nancy and Emily there. But I mean, later seasons, they changed it to, I think, 6 hours for a detour, and then it was 4 hours for a roadblock after the next team arrived at the task. And I think that was a lot more of a sensible number compared to now where it's like just 2 hours for a route info or active route info task. It should definitely be longer. It should probably be 4 to 6 hours, I think.
But then we would have lost our beloved Nick and Sabrina and the hilarity of the suit.
I'm sure if it was longer, they wouldn't have quit the task. Because 2 hours doesn't seem like with them, with their Spanish advantage there, they probably quit the task because they knew they could probably beat at least one team by 2 hours because of their linguistic advantage. But if it was longer, then they would have really hesitated and probably wouldn't have quit the task.
So Nick and Matt use a hopping technique, which Brian and Cynthia and Hamilton and Michaela copy.
They cheated. Did you see the comments online? People are accusing the racers of cheating by hopping with a soccer ball as opposed to dribbling with a soccer ball.
I was very surprised that Nick and Sabrina didn't work that out, given their history of managing to find loopholes.
Nick's just not a hopper.
Like I said at the start, it's like, he's taught to do it a certain way, so he doesn't think outside the box.
Maybe the episode title for us should be Hopper/Not a Hopper.
And then, I guess he just didn't play Uniracers when he was younger.
I don't know what that is.
Video game, Super Nintendo, 1995. Very good. Actually, Steve Jobs sued Nintendo over Uniracers because it resembled a Pixar thing that I guess he did in the 80s. So that's why there was never a sequel to Uniracers, because Nintendo wasn't allowed to make one. That's why I hate Steve Jobs to this day.
I hope he's rolling in his grave.
Oh, I'm sure he is. I'm sure that's his one regret if you look deep within his will and his final speech before passing.
Monty didn't actually say that they had to dribble the ball, just said he had to go between the cones, so, that loophole is a good idea. But as we've said many a time, if it was against the rules, they would have got a penalty, and we would have seen the penalty, because given how close all the teams were this leg, it would have affected the standings.
Yeah, I wonder if they didn't hop, would they all have just not been able to complete the task and they would still be out there until sunrise?
We would have seen an early morning leg as well as a night leg.
At least I guess it didn't matter if it was light or dark out during the task.
So once teams complete the football task, they have to find El Obelisco to find the next clue, which is the Detour, which is dance or dine.
So I don't speak Spanish, so I'm just going to assume that El Obelisco, was it? Actually stands for
Obelisk?
Lead Giant Duck.
You can think that, Ben.
Oh, sorry, we don't all speak Spanish.
Argentinian Spanish.
See, we don't all speak Spanish because you guys were too lazy to go to South America, and instead Spain and Portugal went. You guys went east, and that's why I exist.
Evidently, from my pronunciation, I don't speak Spanish either.
If it's two L's together, you pronounce it as a Y.
I don't know whether this podcast is going righto or lefto.
Or what about Rapido? Did anybody say Rapido this week for our poll question?
They did, and it was Kristen. She said it 3 times in a row.
Like Beetlejuice? So she said Rapido, Rapido, Rapido?
Andale.
Yeah. I made a Nelly reference. Where were we?
The Detour.
Right. Quickest switchback ever, I would say.
Yeah, 1 leg.
Yes. Last round, either you memorize and recite words in Spanish, or you do a dance. This week, memorize and recite words in Spanish, or you do a dance.
Meanwhile, last season of The Amazing Race Australia, didn't they do the tango in Buenos Aires as well?
They did indeed, and it was also a Detour.
That's all they do in Buenos Aires, if I'm not mistaken. It's just tangos and Vida Perón.
I am very surprised we didn't see visits to Recoleta, seeing as though that seems to be where they go every single time they go to Buenos Aires.
What?
Yeah.
I went to Chacarita. What the hell was I doing? I was at Chacarita Cemetery. Oh, man. I screwed that up.
Meanwhile, I don't know much about South America, but what I've concluded from The Amazing Race Canada is that all they do in Spain is dance and find 16 different names for one meat.
Including baby goat, which is the one that they pointed out.
Didn't Charlotte and Mirna pick up a baby goat?
I believe they might have, yes.
Yeah, like in Amazing Race 5, there was a detour task in the second Egypt leg, where Charlotte and Mirna were picking up baby goats and adult goats and put them on the boat.
But before that, you know what always happened? Charlotte screamed at Mirna to put them on my back! Put them on my back!
What you're saying is Charlotte literally carrying the goats on her back.
As opposed to figuratively?
Boston Rob literally carrying his family on his back.
I'm not familiar. I don't know what you're talking about. Was that just a dream you had or something?
Just a dream.
Another Nelly reference.
You know the references are always funny when you explain them.
So, the Detour, dance or dine. In dance, surprisingly, teams must learn the tango and perform it correctly to receive the next clue. And in dine, teams must split up, one acting as the chef and one acting as the waiter or waitress, who must learn the menu and take the orders of 3 patrons respectively in Spanish. Once the waiter or waitress has served the patrons their meal correctly and told them what it is in Spanish, they receive their next clue. And, because they like to point this out, there are 6 stations at each detour.
Well, it became a plot point, so...
Yeah, as soon as they say there's only a limited number of stations that somebody's going to come there and like get bumped off a table like John and Murray, or get sent back to dine like Simi and Opie.
It's probably the clearest explanation of stations being used for a detour task I think I've seen. They even had the visual aid of putting 6 on one side of the screen and then 6 on the other.
That's in case people don't know what the number 6 is. Also, I think Sabrina might have done something several times.
Oh, several?
Several times.
It was a good strategy, though, in all seriousness. You learn through repetition, especially if you're learning language. That's that's one of the main things you do.
Écoutez and répétez.
Écoutez and répétez, indeed. Good old high school French coming in handy.
And as Nick says, it's a little difficult to get into the tango when your female partner looks like that.
Yep, it's the classic, let's make fun of the man dressing up as a woman when dancing and use that as a source of comedy. Whoop-de-freaking-do. We haven't seen that on The Amazing Race a million times.
We didn't see it this season either, because that didn't happen.
Yeah, at least we didn't get Nick or Matt in bad drag. And did you notice that Brian did another army-related quote? Brian seems to be the source of unintentional humour at the moment, actually, for that matter.
I reckon it's more Cynthia's funnier.
Yeah, Brian said, I think we're in the Hurt Locker. Oh, Brian.
Does that mean he's going to win James Cameron's ex-wife an Oscar over him?
He's personally going to win James Cameron's ex-wife an Oscar.
That's what I thought.
So it's Nick and Sabrina leaving Dine in first, shockingly.
Shocker!
Do you think that the Spanish helped them out at the task? Do you think
No.
Sabrina speaking fluent Argentine Spanish is what helped them complete it fast?
Not even a little bit.
No? Okay.
Did you notice the editing mistake that appeared when Nick and Sabrina got their clue?
No.
Nick and Matt's graphic appeared.
Is this like Sunny Gago type error where it lasts for 1 second?
No, it lasted the entirety of Nick and Sabrina reading their clue. It said Nick and Matt currently in first place.
Well, they both share one. Well, those two teams, they have a partner that shares the same name, so
they share
I guess
3
that's
letters.
not a crazy mix-up.
Yeah, but it's pretty offensive to call Sabrina Matt. And Nick also snatched the clue.
Is he like Dujon? He's also a snatcher?
Snatcher / not a snatcher. Neil and Kristen left dance in second. Nick and Matt left dance in third. Gino and Jesse in fourth. Surprisingly, Dujon and Leilani chose dance. Simi and Opie left dine in sixth. Brent and Sean left dine in seventh. Hamilton and Michaela left dance in eighth. Brian and Cynthia left dance in ninth. And Dana and Amanda left dine in 10th.
Was the meat wrong?
Did Brent and Sean have a celebratory vomit?
They didn't. Their vomit count is still only at 1. They're still 16 behind Spoonie. I'm very disappointed.
It's a weird subplot to introduce in the first episode that never comes up again.
And the pit stop is the Puente de la Mujer. The last team to check in here may receive an inspirational speech from Brian about being police officers. Oh, and they might be eliminated.
What was great about Dana and Amanda just through these 2 legs in Chile and Argentina is that it's one of the most Anglophone style runs I think I've seen a team go through in Spanish speaking countries. That was pretty fun to watch, I must admit. I don't think there's too many Spanish speakers in Newfoundland and Labrador.
And Nick and Sabrina are first to the pit stop. Yay!
However,
they have to serve a 2-hour penalty for quizzing on the football task.
How is that possible?
The pro soccer player quitting a soccer task? Oh, that's crazy.
How is that possible?
Yes, I'm sure Bethany Hamilton was watching The Amazing Race Canada last night.
I hope so. How is that possible? Nick and Sabrina are my favourites. So Nick and Sabrina's penalty leaves Neil and Kristen, who, can I point out, 3 out of the 4 of us in the pool picked as going out this week, winning the leg.
Holy crap, Oli.
They won 2 tickets to Beijing and 6 months petrol each.
They should have won 2 tickets to Halifax.
Continuing the theme of, here's some tickets to somewhere you're going to next time. You get 2 tickets in premium economy from Air Canada to Halifax, Nova Scotia.
Oh my gosh!
And then Neil can make some sort of CFL reference where he had a training camp in Halifax one time 25 years ago, back when he had an awesome mustache.
And very close, second was Gino and Jesse, third Nick and Matt.
Victory.
And then Dujon and Leilani, Simeon, Opie, Brennan, Sean, Hamilton, and Michaela.
I have to point out that we did have a deleted scene with Hamilton and Michaela this week, I guess, online, where Michaela elaborated that she is First Nations. She is of Aboriginal heritage. So our discussion over the past couple of weeks that there is yet to be an Aboriginal person on the Amazing Race Canada is not entirely true, because Michaela is actually the first Aboriginal contestant.
And why haven't they mentioned that?
Should have tamed out with Suzette.
And then Michaela said that Suzette was such an inspiration for being the first Aboriginal person to appear on the Canadian reality show. And then Suzette just cussed out Michaela and took her down a peg, sadly.
Suzette, better than your favorite.
You've been annoying me all week, Michaela. So,
Mickey.
off.
I wonder what Michaela's nickname is for Suzette. Is it Susie?
And Nick and Sabrina's penalty finishes, leaving them in 8th. And then Brian and Cynthia just beating out Dana and Amanda to 9th place, leaving Dana and Amanda with an inspirational speech from Brian.
And also eliminated.
Yeah. I'm not sure which is worse.
I don't think that... I know, Michael, you said earlier that you thought that the footage was manipulated to make it look like it was really close, but there was one shot of Nick and Sabrina being on the pit stop mat, and then Brian and Cynthia and Dana and Amanda both sprinting to run to the mat. So I think it really was a difference of just 1 minute between Nick and Sabrina staying alive and being eliminated from the race. If Nick hesitated to throw in the towel by just 1 minute, it would have made all the difference.
I'd extend it to about 5 minutes, because there is that post-check-in interview they need to do at the mat that they always do. So I'm guessing that that Brian and Cynthia lumbered interview about around the end of the interview.
Yeah, I mean those interviews can last anywhere up to half an hour, because they want to get loads of stuff to clip together when John wants to talk to people about certain things.
Especially when it's Nick and Sabrina
half an hour.
after what they just went through.
Well, they have lasted up to half an hour before, Ben. They usually can last between about 5 and 10 minutes, unless you're Pierre and the Michelles. But if a team has done a lot in that episode, like Nick and Sabrina quitting the task, they can go on for about half an hour, especially if they're not expecting more teams in.
Well, it's still only the start of the race. There's not really that much to talk about. I can't do a John Montgomery impression, so don't make me try. So you guys quit the it's into task here. How did that feel? Talk for a few minutes, and then so you guys speak Spanish and did a Spanish speaking task. How does that feel? Speak for a few minutes. So I think at most it take 10 minutes. Yeah,
we'll see how big their lead on Brian and Cynthia is next week. I would be surprised if it's less than about half an hour.
I'd be surprised if it was more than 10 minutes.
I'd be surprised if it's any more than 4 minutes. I must say I appreciated Simi and Opie's just going through all the tasks throughout the course of there's something about them that just made me chuckle all throughout the episode, just the way that they communicate, and Opie being all flustered with, taxis at the embassy, or, just getting really frustrated during the detour when they were switching back and forth between tasks. There's just a way that it's fun to watch them on TV go through each of these legs, especially outside of Canada.
Is the thing that you appreciate the fact that they wore, Opie wore an eye patch and a poncho and a sombrero in his picture on Twitter this week?
That might be about 30% of the reason, yes.
There's a shot.
Yeah, they seem to be like a part of that group of, I'm not even sure there's a name for it, that there's an entire subset of people who appear on reality television that they're either completely plot irrelevant or don't get much screen time. But when they do get screen time, they really fill it up with a lot of content. This example means nothing to you guys, but in the 2008 season of Big Brother Australia, there was this chick who she was on the show for 3 weeks. Out of the 20 episodes she was in, 19 of them she was basically a background character. She had a tiny subplot of I don't really want to be here. I might quit. But then the 20th one, she fills it up with a lot of content. She makes friends with someone, she gets drunk, she causes a fight, she basically fills up with a lot of meaningful content, but then she leaves the next episode and it's well.
Oh, Australia.
But that's what I was getting at. Simeon and Opie, I'm guessing that they haven't got much a story so far, so I'm guessing that when they do get a story, they're going to be eliminated that leg. So I see them with the content again, they're very likable. When we get content, this league was a good example of that. When we get content, and I really like them as well.
I mean, I know Logan likes analysing in his blog, doing the recaps of older seasons, who gets mentioned in the intros. But it was Hamilton and Michaela, Dana and Amanda, and Gino and Jesse, outside of Susan and Sean getting eliminated this week. So I was kind of sure that Nick and Sabrina were safe, but I didn't know.
Yeah, I didn't expect Nick and Sabrina to go home at all this week. I'm expecting them to pretty much be there at the end, because all I have to do is look at the Amazing Race Canada official page, and everybody is hating Nick and Sabrina so much that I think it's pretty evident that producers are deliberately making them controversial so that they have a team for everybody to talk about for the whole season. Especially in the first episode when they're in dead last. Sabrina didn't even run for the first half of the first leg, and then Nick finds this loophole, and suddenly they're in second. And then, of course, Sabrina spit through the roadblock there. And then this episode, they take a 2-hour penalty on a task that everyone assumed they would do well at, and then all of the other teams are able to complete it, but yet one of those other teams still ends up being eliminated anyway.
It'll give us a lot to talk about during the season.
They're this season's Holly and Brett. Yeah, all of this season's Pierre and Michelle.
I wouldn't even say Pierre and Michelle. I would say, well, obviously the Quebecois connection, but I'd say in terms of people bitching about them already, I'd say Suki and Jinder. Because Suki and Jinder got a lot of abuse in the first couple of weeks on the Talk Facebook page.
Was it the same as like Holly and Brett's, the reaction that people had to Holly and Brett, though? I would say this definitely, because like Holly and Brett Holly was not that physically fit, and people hated her for that. And then, of course, just the way that they did some of the tasks, I think that it's a more appropriate comparison.
So, next time, Halifax, Nova Scotia, as we already mentioned, bridge climbs, lobsters, kegs, and a lost passport all make an appearance.
Finally, they're going back to Canada, where they belong.
Back to your hole.
Come on, guys, maybe we'll get Canadian dollars on the card this week.
It'd be funny if they still give them American dollars for a Canadian leg. That would be great.
I thought this was supposed to be Amazing Race Canada, not Amazing Race US dollars.
I can't believe they're going to Halifax, though, because they already went there in Season 1, and the preview for next week shows them doing a fishing task, which we see in every single Atlantic Canada leg since the first season of the show. And then there's a transporting task, which happens in almost every Atlantic Canada leg. And it doesn't seem like there's going to be a whole lot to it. I just find Atlantic Canada to be a very, very boring region to visit on this show.
I've gone on record saying that I hate Atlantic Canada legs, with the exception of one, which is PEI last year. Every Atlantic Canada leg has been weak, with the exception of PEI, because, you know, Suki and Jinder own age, and Ryan and Rob having to search through a pile of poop. But I'm quietly confident that it's not going to be dreadful. Will it be as good as the past couple of legs? Probably not.
Watch as Nick and Sabrina get eliminated next week.
Yeah, I'll be so depressed if that happens. In the same way that I'm depressed with Suki and Jinder going out thanks to Atlantic Canada.
With Neil and Kristen, for them winning this leg, there isn't really a whole lot for us to talk about them other than Kristen trying really hard to get that express pass and, that request going nowhere with Hamilton and Michaela.
No, they didn't get an impressive edit, given that they won the leg.
They got content. They're just like it. They're just not like. They got content. They're just not memorable content.
Yeah, like, it'd be like if Stephen.
My one memory of them this leg was them like sort of like Kristen just sort of like maniacally leaning over at Hamilton Michaela's like so how much you had to kiss your ass to get the express pass?
It was so awkward at the airport.
It wasn't as creepy as you were making out to be, Michael, but...
Yeah, that conversation at the airport may have done more harm than good for Neil and Kristen.
I mean, normally I would ask who do you think is going to get the second express pass, but it is the bonus question for the pool this week, so I can't really ask that. I have already done my predictions there.
Brian and Cynthia.
Yeah, it won't be Brian and Cynthia, obviously.
Dana and Amanda.
Yeah, Hamilton and Michaela, what they should have done was just given it to the last team who were left at the tango task that they knew they were going to beat. Just burn it off. But, game theory, they've got to give it out next week.
Yeah.
And it probably won't matter at all, given the history of express passes.
We can hope. I want rid of the Express Pass by the end of next week, preferably.
It mattered last season. Like, it helped build up Pierre and Michelle's villain edit.
But then they completely wasted it on the Whiskey Dicks test, didn't they?
They got first.
They probably used it in the right way for them, but I wouldn't have used it there. So yeah, anything else to add about this week?
Little Brett and Sean content, and Dana and Amanda nearly got ran over by that bus on the way to the pit stop. Now that would have been a crazy ending.
Brett and Sean content, that was that dog that helped them flag a cab at the start of the leg.
Oh yeah, the dog nearly got ran over. Oh man, that was scary.
Well, not scary. It's just like, we'll win this leg for you.
I like Dujon and Leilani's jazz hands at the pit stop.
I like Dujon and Leilani in general.
Yes, I agree.
Given that Logan had them ranked at number 11 last week, as his prediction of where they were going to go, I'm happy with them. I don't think they can win, but I don't think we'll be seeing them get eliminated anytime soon.
All the teams I'd want to win, I can't really see them edit-wise winning, so this is a shame.
On that note, do we think it's going to be a non-elimination next week? Because I don't think it is, but then again, if it's not next week, then it's probably going to be about leg 6, because I suspect we'll have a double battle in leg 5.
There's only going to be 2 non-elimination legs this season, correct?
I'd assume so, unless they do an extra non-elimination and a double elim, like Philippines 2 did.
Or Amazing Race 19. Yeah, I don't think that'll happen either. I think for Amazing Race Canada, they tend to keep the twist pretty minimal. I mean, we still haven't had the double battle, also, aka face-off, as of yet.
No, I know it's going to be a final 3. I've had it confirmed that it's final 3. I don't know who it's going to be, but we're not going to see the surprise final 4 in the final. I think we'll have a non-elimination about... It'll be either 5 or 6, and probably about 8 or 9. And of course 9 being next week. So yeah, thank you very much for joining us. We'll be back next week for another Amazing Race Canada episode, and Lord knows I can't guarantee who's going to be here apart from me and Logan. If you enjoyed the show, and even if you didn't, please subscribe on iTunes and give us a like on the YouTube video. And if you want to see what we're rambling about this week, our Twitters are in the descriptions of everything as well. And if you missed mine and Logan's interview with Mike and Michelle from Amazing Race 26, that's also available on the iTunes feed. As now is Ben and Michelle's mega interview with Kat and Jesse, which you can find linked on the video as well. Thank you again.
Hashtag.
Bye.
Hashtag.
Bye.
Ben's been waiting months to do that.
Hashtag 250. Hashtag Chicken Ninja. Hashtag Super Galactic. Peace.
Bye.
Peace out. It's out.